The most powerful non-Type R Civic ever. And it's a hybrid. I know, pretty wild. This is the new 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid. It's got 200 horsepower and over 230 pound-feet of torque, which is significantly more than the current Civic Si. And in this video, we're gonna find out, is it as fun to drive as Honda claims? All right, merging onto the highway here. Full beans. Wowzer! This thing really rips the front tires off. This thing could use a limited slip pretty badly. So the base Civic, the 2-liter, is continuing. The hybrid's really replacing the Sport and the Sport Touring. If you have both a lead foot and care a lot about your economy, this is the car for you. So the Civic Hybrid drives really well, but does it look different than a standard Civic? Yes. Well, sort of. So you have a body-colored grille surround on the hybrid and a little bit of body color treatment along here at the base of the splitter. You also get unique wheel designs, including these 18-inch wheels on this Sport Touring and this kind of cool flat gray along flat silver look. I think it looks fantastic, and prototype vehicle along the side, which you're probably not going to get on the ones you buy from the dealer. And then out back, we have new revised tinted taillights for 2025. Okay, so the changes for this model year are very minimal. But there's some bigger changes on the inside, which are definitely worth noting. If you are a fan of tech, well, the 25 Civic had some nice upgrades. So the 9-inch screen at first doesn't look all that different until you realize it's running a Google operating system with, check this out, a Google Assistant and native Google Maps. Absolutely fantastic, the best in the industry. Now this screen, it's crisp, it's clear, it's fairly easy to use. Of course, you can use your typical FM, AM, that kind of thing, or you can use wireless Apple CarPlay. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good system. I find it fast, snappy, easy to use, and nice and colorful as well. And you also have all your information, including your trip computer and your power flow, all built into the screen. So this is a really competitive class. You've got vehicles like the Corolla, the Elantra in this hybrid space. You also have the Prius, the Nissan Sentra. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I think Honda is one of the leaders in terms of interior. Now the design is pretty basic, but the functionality, super easy to use. So I love the fact that we have big chunky knobs for climate control, physical buttons for heated seats in this Sport Touring model. You know, it's just a very easy place to interact with. And some little improvements for 2025, USB-C ports for both USB and charging. We have a wireless charging tray here. This is the transmission control, park versus neutral drive. And we have drive mode selectors, so Sport, Normal, Econ. And then this Sport Touring Hybrid also has an individual setting, and we can actually go in and customize it. Check that out. So you can change the powertrain, the steering, the engine sound. Holy moly, Zach, put this thing in a Sport. Let's hear that. Sounds exactly the same. Then go to the gauges. Sport gauges. Oh, it turns the gauges red. So if you want to turn your gauges red, you got to get the Sport Touring and the hybrid. But seriously, I mean, the rest of the interior is quite good. Seats, very comfortable power seats in this model. Steering wheel falls to hand nicely. Leather stitched wheel with paddle shifters that control the regen for the hybrid system. I love that Honda, has battery indicators for the high voltage battery, as well as your fuel gauge. That's always been pretty cool. And then we do have a configurable gauge cluster as well. So very functional interior, easy to use, quite comfortable, and actually quite spacious up here in the front. Let's see how it is in the rear. Stepping into the rear of the Honda Civic Hybrid. Now the high voltage battery actually lives underneath the rear seats. Look at the space, 6 feet tall. This is my driving position. Excellent leg room. Really, really, really good. There is quite a sizable hump down the center of the car, which is a little bit of an oddity to me because there is no all-wheel drive configuration of the Civic anywhere. So why the hump? But I have to say rear seat room is okay, except for headroom is pretty minimal. If you want some more headroom, you're definitely going to want to spec the Civic hatchback, which can also be had in hybrid trim. Fold down the armrest here, a couple of cup holders for some storage. We don't have rear AC vents, a little bit of a miss, but overall a very functional rear seat. Trunk space in the Civic sedan, about 14.5 cubic feet. Nice wide opening to the trunk, a fairly low lift over. And then if we open up this little channel here, you'll see no spare tire in the Sport Touring, but we do have a tire inflation kit and some great additional storage. And the best part is, if I pull this little latch, Now we can fold down that rear seat, and even though the opening is a little small, even if you have both of them folded down, it is a nearly flat load floor, so pretty good there. I mean, look, the 25 model year refresh is very mild, except for the reintroduction of the hybrid system, which has been gone since 2015. So the base Civic still gets the 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. This is basically replacing the 1.5 turbo in the sport trims. And then SI Type R, we don't know the full changes coming to those yet, but figure also probably the Google screen is likely to make it into those vehicles as well. So it's a very mild mid-cycle refresh for the 11th gen Civic, but I think they did a good job keeping the car at least fresh and introducing this hybrid trim. You know, I think that this was the right call. I always felt with the old 1.5 liter turbo sport, it was a cool trim, but why not just really step up and get that SI or the Type R if you could afford it. This vehicle, I think, is a good replacement to that. It still is fun to drive for a person who wants a casual bit of performance, but now it gets much better fuel economy. What's really interesting about this hybrid system is, for the most part, the gasoline engine acts as a generator to supply electricity to the battery. However, under certain solid state driving conditions, cruising along at the highway at 65 miles an hour, it is possible for the engine to directly drive the wheels for maximum efficiency. Now, that efficiency is pretty good. So Honda says up to 50 mpg in the city and 49 mpg combined. Pretty solid numbers. This car is more fun to drive than its competitors, in my opinion. It's a lot more fun to drive than a Corolla hybrid, and it's more fun to drive than the Prius. Now, the new Prius is very good. It's actually quite dynamic, and that has over 190 horsepower, but I still reckon that the Civic is a more dynamic experience. The steering is better on a twisty road. I think the ride is going to be better. It's just a more almost natural driving experience, because the Prius does still feel a little spaceshipy. So we're driving the Civic through the streets of Montreal in Canada. Beautiful city, first of all. Terrible roads. Really, really bad roads. Super big potholes. Just large bumps everywhere, and this ride is super well sorted, especially in the sport touring. Now, they say the center of gravity is 10 millimeters lower than the 2024 model year. It handles pretty well, but most importantly, it doesn't beat you up on these potholed streets. So this car is quite comfortable, especially when you get the leather seats, and yeah, easy car to daily drive. Wouldn't think about it twice. All right, so we're here with a really special guest. Can I have you introduce yourself?
まあ名前だけを。
私は秋元です。
So my name is Akimoto-san.
And Akimoto-san, what do you do with Honda?
今どんな仕事されてます？
私は今、シビックとアキュラインテグラの開発責任者をやってます。
I'm the global development leader for both the Honda Civic and Acura Integra.
Very cool. And walk me through a little bit of your past at Honda, because you are one of the legends with the company. You've been with them for a long time. What are some of the projects you've worked on over the years?
まあもちろん長い背景がありまして、まあ最高責任者としていろいろここまで開発してきた機種のことを説明してください。
はい。私は1985年にホンダに入社して4代目のシビックの開発に携わりました。
So I actually started in 1985 back in Honda, and one of the first key projects that I was assigned to was the 4th generation Civic.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. で、ジャンルはエンジンのパフォーマンスのエンジニアです。
And so really my background is actually engine development, engine performance.
Now let's talk about how the system works, because it's a little bit unusual. So there's a 2-motor setup, but the gasoline engine doesn't drive the wheels all the time. Is that correct?
So, この2モーターハイブリッドシステムなんですけれども、まあ私の知ってる限りだとちょっと複雑な、システムで、そのエンジンはずっとタイヤを駆動していないんですよね。
Yes. Exactly.
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly right.
Very cool. But there are situations where the gasoline engine can drive the wheels.
ただ、たまにエンジンが駆動する場合もあるんですよね。
はい。日産のシステム、シリーズハイブリッドっていうのは、エンジンが、エネルギーを沸かして、 ドライブ用のモーターでタイヤを駆動しているシンプルなものですね。
Yeah, so and much like actually someone like Nissan, it's very similar in that it's a series hybrid system. So essentially you have the engine that's working together to basically take the energy and give it to this outboard motor, and then that is in some cases driving those front wheels.
ホンダのシステムもそれに基本的には近い、モーターだけでタイヤを駆動しています。
And our system isn't so far off in that type of hybrid system. However, our system is generally using the electric motor to drive the wheels, and in some cases, the engine as well.
ただ、シリーズハイブリッドの弱点は、高速運転で燃費が悪くなることです。効率が悪い。
The problem is with like a series hybrid system, especially on the freeway, it's not very efficient to always have the motor driving the wheels.
それはエンジンのガソリンのエネルギーを電気に変えて、その電気をまたモーターで駆動するから変換の効率が悪いです。
So if you think about how the system works again, the engine is essentially using the fuel to, rotate, create the energy for the battery, sending that back to the motor. So it's a very long and kind of inefficient process.
それでホンダは特別なユニークなシステムを採用していて、ハイウェイのクルーズの時だけエンジンとタイヤを直結するクラッチを持っています。
So for Honda, we actually came up with an innovative system that allows us at highway cruising speeds via a clutch in our system to, directly have the engine drive the front wheels, which actually helps in that mode for fuel efficiency.
So like the marketing materials and the press materials say a CVT, continuously variable transmission, but there's no belt and a cone, there's no planetary gear set, right? It's all electronics and it's all the engine just providing electricity to the motors when you're accelerating hard. Is that correct?
ですから広報部の情報によると、ECVT っていう単語を使われていて、ただし、このベロとかギアとか、本当の CVT と違ってて、ただこういうモーターがホイールを、タイヤを駆動しているというシステムでよろしいですか？
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And it sounds like this system means there's a lot less maintenance from like a transmission standpoint. Is that correct? Because there's no transmission.
そういうふうに言われると、やっぱりもう通常のミッションがないため、やっぱりメンテネとかサービスの方がやりやすいというか、そんなにしなくて済むということでいいですか？
基本的には、保証年数というのがあるので、その中であれば、同じような状況だと思います。
Well, I mean, fundamentally, we have kind of our, maintenance plan, and as long as customers are adhering to that, then, they shouldn't see any kind of additional maintenance and probably in line with the rest of our powertrains.
Great. Now, pricing-wise, this is where things get interesting. So, starts in the high 20s, and it's between $3,000 to $5,000 more expensive than an Elantra or a Corolla hybrid. Especially that Corolla hybrid coming in at 24 grand or thereabouts is quite a bit more affordable than the Civic, but keep in mind that the hybrid on the Civic starts at the Sport trim, which includes stuff like heated seats and the sunroof. And then if you step up to this, the Sport Touring, which gets you the Google integration, the leather seats, all of that fun stuff, well, then you're going to be paying closer to like 32 grand. So this is more expensive than some of its direct competitors, but you do get more equipment as standard because you have to get the Sport trim to get the hybrid at the low end in the Civic line. So look, it's realistically, I probably wouldn't get the Sport Touring for over 30. I'd want to stay just under 30 with that standard Sport and still get the moonroof and the heated seats. But if you do want the luxury one, you can get this, and it still is less expensive than the Accord hybrid. So where this car tops out is right about where the Accord hybrid starts in terms of pricing. So I would probably get this car. I think you get pretty good room, and it's probably going to be even a little quicker than an Accord because we get basically the same engine, basically the same powertrain, basically the same power, but in a smaller package. So this is the one to get. Folks, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. A huge thank you to Zach behind the camera for making this video happen. And as always, we'll see you in another one. Head over to alltfl.com for more info.